your feeling that your grief is getting bigger is more typical than atypical. You know, in my experience, listening to hundreds of thousands of people, grief getting bigger around the 1 year and into year 2, all of that stuff, like that happens more often than it doesn't. Now, a lot of people have collateral damage and cascading losses, loss of friends and family and supports and all of that stuff. So you're not unusual at all, as shitty as that is. As shitty as that is, it's right on schedule. You don't have to put on that worry hat of, am I losing my mind or am I doing this wrong? Because you're not doing anything wrong. This is expected and typical. And so many other people feel exactly the same way. So what do we do when things keep feeling worse and worse and worse, right? You circle back to your basics, tend the organism, eat, drink water, sleep, move your body as you're able. Ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? Knowing that this feels harder or bigger than it did a month ago. What do I need today in this? And you know, that whole thing of year 2 being harder than year 1, I haven't figured out how to talk about this yet, because I feel like if I'm speaking to somebody in the first year of their grief and I say, hey, year 2 is harder, it's like, well, fuck. Like, I don't see how anything can be harder than this. And at the same time, if we don't talk about how differently impossible year 2 is, people get into year 2 and think that they're doing it wrong because it feels harder or differently hard, right? So it's like, what do we do here? I don't really wish for this kind of control, but I wish I could control when people see that message that I put out in the world, right? Like, I don't want you to see it in month 2 or month 7, but I do want you to start seeing it in like month 10 and a half. There's also like that external idea. I can believe that people said that to you, like, once you hit that magical 12-month thing, you're going to stop counting. Like, no, you won't. Maybe you will, but it doesn't have anything to do with 12 to 13. So many people count months of grief the way that we count toddler months, right? Like 18 months, 20 months, that sort of thing. I mean, count in any numerical system you want to. There's nothing magic about the 12-month mark. In fact, I remember very distinctly when I hit the 12-month mark, I was like, you can come home now. I did a whole year of really skillful grieving. You can come home now, right? I did it. And, you know, I mean, maybe you don't need to relentlessly question why you feel the way that you feel, and just, what do I need when I'm feeling like this? Right? You are definitely not alone in that, like, you should be back now, right? Like, I mean, with so many things in life, if you put in the work and you're diligent and you do it, you get this result, right? And grief is not like that. You can't do grief correctly and undead someone, right? That's not why we do it, but that is so much of the messaging around work hard, do this, and get XYZ. Well, in this case, it's a very different thing that you get, and it's your own survival. There's also, like, I've mentioned this before, but I mean, Matt has been dead for 13 and a half years, which is bonkers. But just this morning, driving back from the grocery store, his truck drove by and I went to wave at him. 13 and a half years. There is no part of me that thinks he's going to drive by, right? But those neural networks, those bodily memories, those habits that we build over years in relationship, those neural networks are thick. That muscle memory is thick, right? We are always sort of looking for that or traveling those highways, right? And this just happened. This just happened. That impulse to mother in the ways that you mother, that impulse to, oh, this is this time of day, or this time of year, they should be coming in the door now. Like, that is a highway that is in your brain. Not right, not wrong. That is literally how neurobiology works. Like, don't at me if somebody is like, you don't know brain science, but neural pathways are a thing. So there are parts of you that haven't gotten the memo yet, haven't rebuilt a new highway information system in your brain yet, right? That's not brain damage. That's how your brain works. There's a poem, I think, called The Habits of Love, but it's like, Sunday morning, this is what we did together. And so every Sunday morning, I look for you. Those are relational habits that are deeply encoded in the body. There is nothing weird going on. It's just that the highways that you laid down in all of the time together, in all of the ways that you were together, in all of the ways that you connected and related, those structures are still alive in your brain. And because we don't talk about this stuff, people really do think they're losing it. You're not losing it. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. And those neural networks aren't like, I don't want to get too far into brain chemistry here, but like they're not impacted by external reality, right? So yeah, like all of that stuff and all of that stuff coming up, like shitty and normal. And you don't need to know why. You just need to ask yourself what you need. You can also, mess around with, I notice that when I'm feeling this, I ask myself why, and I try to find reasons for how I feel this way. Like, what am I looking for? What do I hope to find? Right? Because there's an action we're doing there. There's something we're looking for. So can you take a step outside of that and say, I notice when I'm feeling like this, I start trying to find out why. What answer do I hope to find? And what, if I found an answer, what would it solve? Is the same sort of thing as call off the search, but it's an inquiry into the search. Why am I searching? Right? Because there's a need in there. Like my analogy here is if you're trying to quit smoking, you're not going to be successful in quitting smoking unless we understand what smoking serves for you. What's good about smoking? Maybe it lets you take a break at work and there's otherwise no break. It lets you do something with your hands when you're nervous. Great. If we don't figure out a way for you to take a break without smoking, or figure out something else you can do with your hands when you're feeling anxious, you're going to go back to smoking. What does that searching serve? And are there other ways you can meet that need for yourself? And we only find those things out if we're curious about them, right?